All right, so thank you so much for joining our virtual About Our School session this afternoon. I want to start by saying, if you can see my outfit here, I don't normally show up in Bass Pro camo shirts to work. It is Spirit Week this week, so we do a lot of different fun things like that, and today is Crazy Camo Day, so that is why we're like this. Friday, I get to wear my Gamecock jersey, so I'm excited about that. So just one example of some of the awesome things that we have going on campus. But I just wanted to, since this is being recorded and going to be post for, posterity, I wanted to say, yes, I don't normally wear my camo to work. With that being said, I'm going to jump right in. The goal of today is to really give you this big understanding of who we are as a school. It's going to really be kind of an overview of who we are. And then at the end, I will stop the recording. And if we want to have more of a personalized Q&A, we can certainly do so. So I am going to be giving you the overview of the school, as I said, looking at all three of our divisions. So if you don't know anything about us, we are a K through 12 school. So we do have lower, middle, and upper school. And once I have finished that overview, I'll talk a little bit more specifically about our admissions criteria and process. So who am I? My name is Carrie Coffin. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management and Digital Media. So it is a mouthful. It's a lot of fun putting that on a business card. I taught high school English in the public school setting for 5 years prior to landing in this role. Prior to that, I worked in various roles at Lindenwood Bell Learning Processes. So I have a varied background, but all very heavily linked to education in some way, shape, or form. And this is approaching the end of my 3rd year here at JCS. Hallie Rojeski is our head of school. I think she's approaching the end of her 6th or 7th year here, but she is a wonderful leader to our school. If you have any questions or concerns, her email address is on our website, and she is always very quick to respond if you want to talk directly to the head of school at any point. So just a general overview again of our school. We are very focused on individual student achievement. All of our students who are coming to us have learning challenges in some way, shape, or form. They can look and present very different, but there is a reason that they are coming to us. And so we do a lot of different things that I'll talk more about to really try to meet each child where they are. One of the new initiatives this year that we have taken on as an entire staff is restorative practices. So this is really key when you're talking about behavioral interventions. Often on tours, parents will ask me, like, what are your consequences like? What happens if my student gets in trouble? And that's really where restorative practices comes in now. We're focusing more on coaching our students on why what they impulsively did or said isn't appropriate, and then trying to restore any harm that's been done. So that really lends itself to that supportive and safe environment. We have our faculty and staff who are very highly qualified, whether that's through their own education process that they've gone through. We also dismiss early every Wednesday specifically for teacher professional development, so that we can make sure that we are every year training and focusing on the needs and profiles of the students that we have enrolled in front of us at that moment. We also have a strong network of professional and community supporters. I actually just did a community collaboration series this morning. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I suggest that you go to our YouTube channel. We partner with professionals in the area who specialize in a lot of the hot topics that many of you are probably concerned about, like executive functioning. Today's was on friendship and confidence, and that is totally free and open to the public. We just want to be a resource to all in the community as much as we can. So I could talk all day long about Crosland. Oftentimes when I go home, my husband is like, can you please stop talking about Crosland? So I really can talk about it all the time, but I want you to be able to hear directly from a student in just a short little clip.
It's about 3 years been here, and I like the school a lot. I like the small class size, and it's easier to focus. Our teacher makes it an easy way to learn stuff, and instead of making it hard, like it's easy. So it's really fun, and I like it. So I wanted to see my friends and stuff like that. I like the school a lot now. I think I might come here until I can't until maybe college. So, yeah.
The ending is my favorite part. Like he's just gonna stay until he can't anymore. I also just love that because he was talking about when he was sick, he still wanted to come to school and he was disappointed that he couldn't come to school. And that is often a comment that I hear from parents as I walk them through from the very beginning of this process with looking at us for the first time all the way to checking in on them throughout the year once they've been enrolled. And what I hear often is, my kid wants to come to school. Like that is the biggest, almost immediate change that they start to see in their students is had so much resistance, or my child was, getting sick every day at school and I didn't realize it was anxiety about what they were experiencing. And now they come here and they actually want to be here, and how amazing it is for something as simple as that desire being met.
It's about
My apologies. So I also want to give you the perspective of a parent. I will give you a heads up that this is the perspective of a parent of our upper school. The student actually just graduated last year, but he attended our school for many of the grades and divisions.
My dream for Peyton is to really believe in himself. Peyton had difficulty with his writing, his reading skills were a little below average, and he just wasn't confident. Yeah, we weren't sure that college was even in his future.
Yeah.
For him to get into 22 universities, the amount of scholarships he got at wonderful institutions is a testament back to this school to get him ready for that. So we're grateful.
Very grateful.
Yeah.
It does make me a little sad when I watch that, but Peyton is not here on campus anymore because that amazing smile that you just saw there at the end would always greet me in the morning. So do definitely miss him, but just another parent testament that even if your child does not stay with us all the way through graduation, like Peyton did, who you heard got into many, many colleges, really had his pick. Say you're only here for 3 years and your ultimate goal is to transition to back into the public school or into a larger private school. We do our best to really partner with families and help you set the goals that need to be there for that transition to be successful, and then track and monitor those goals along the way.
My dream for Peyton is to really believe in himself.
All right, so some of the nitty-gritty facts. We have been around for quite a while. Most people don't realize that when they see the John Crosland School, they don't know that we were previously Door Academy. So we have been around since 1978. Last year was our 45th anniversary, so it was a big year that we got to celebrate. We moved to this building and transitioned to the name of the John Crosland School in 2012, thanks to the benefactor being able to come into this building and really make it what we wanted it to be. Oftentimes, another question that I get from parents is, what makes you different than some of the other private schools in the area who are also serving students with different learning challenges? And I think one of the things that's unique to us is when you walk our halls, it still feels like school. I'm willing to bet that all of you kind of have memories of your elementary school or your middle school, walking the hallways, getting a locker, going to the book fair, and all the excitement that has that. And we still have all of that in place. We are just going to be smaller and going to have more supports and checkpoints for students throughout their day. We are fully accredited. We are actually going through the reaccreditation process this upcoming year. So always making sure we are staying on top of that, evaluating who we are, what we say we're doing. Are we actually doing the things that we say? We have small class size. So right now, on average, there's about 6 to 9 students per teacher, and that's across the board, K through 12. Oftentimes, our kindergarten class does tend to be a little bit smaller than that, 6 to 9 students, because our kindergartners, and I'll talk about this in a moment, but we're really focusing on those foundational skills there. We also have enrichment classes. So those specials like art and PE and music, those can get up to about 13 students per teacher, but those are going to be the more fun, trying to find that balance between small for academic remediation, but still some larger social exposure opportunities. We have an athletics program. This is another thing that I think sets us apart. Even though we are a small school, we do have cross country, basketball, co-ed flag football, and this year we added esports to our athletic programming as well. So that's been a really cool thing to see these students bring their passion for video gaming and turn it into this collaborative athletic sport, and it's really awesome. We also have an open policy towards all kinds of additional supports. So we don't currently employ an occupational therapist or a speech therapist. So it's not something that is included in our tuition, but we have that open door policy. Any speech, OT, social skills coach can come on campus. We help incorporate it into the student's schedule and we give them room. So in a little bit, I'm going to show you some of our spaces on campus. OT loves our sensory space lab. They work in there a lot. Our social skills group that comes after school right now loves our playground, our outdoor area for all that she does. So we really try to create that bridge and that collaboration between teachers and additional supports that the students might need. So speaking of some of those favorite spaces, you can see our outdoor area down at the bottom of the page there. We are on 6 acres of land, fully fenced in. There is a playground, there are basketball courts, there's a garden. We have that horticulture special that students can participate in. And we back up to Renaissance Park, which is a massive park that we can actually go into and utilize as well, with tennis courts and sand volleyball and all different things if our backyard isn't enough and we want something more. The middle picture there is our sensory space lab. So that's on our lower school hallway. So students can utilize that for a break if they need it. If they need to jump, climb, the little paint squares are always a favorite. They're kind of hypnotizing. You step on them and all the paint moves around. We have our STEAM lab. So that's going to be the room with the green furniture here that you see and the room with the green screen. They go hand in hand. And that's where you're going to have things like Lego robotics, 3D printers, just some more of that really hands-on problem solving, critical thinking things going on there. And of course, we do have our upper school, so we have to have some senior privileges. So our senior lounge there is a spot that our 12th graders have access to and nobody else does, so that they feel like the kings and queens of campus that they are. So even more specifics, I mentioned we have all 3 divisions. So for us, lower school is K through 5. They run a full schedule beginning at 8 a.m. and dismissing at 2:40 every day except Wednesday. Now, I mentioned earlier, Wednesday we dismiss 1 hour early for teacher professional development. So that would be 1:40 for lower school, 1:50 for middle school, and 2 o'clock for upper. You'll also notice we have a little bit of a staggered release there between the divisions, and that just helps the carpool line move. I know on days, my daughter's in kindergarten in South Carolina, and on days that I'm lucky enough to get there and be the one to pick her up, I say lucky kind of sarcastically, because people get there at like an hour before the end of school and line up all the way down the road, and it's like a super intense kind of cutthroat process. Ours is not that way, I'm happy to say. We also start every day and end every day in an advisory kind of homeroom period. So this is going to be with a teacher who is just relationship building. They're not giving grades. They're not doing any of that kind of what's difficult for a lot of our students, those processes. They're going to be the ones who are more checking in with them, offering some of that executive functioning support. Do you have your agenda? Where's your homework? Is it going to be somewhere that you can find it when the teacher asks for it in 2 classes? Do we need to go clean out your locker or organize your binder? All of those things that all students, but especially ones with our profiles, just need some extra guidance in. So we do have a K-7 counselor, an 8 through 12 counselor, and then we have a student support specialist who can float between all of the grades. So this is really important for that social emotional learning for our students and just preparing on working on skills beyond academics. So for our 8th through 12th counselor, she's going to be doing a lot of that college and career counseling. The last 4 years, 100% of our seniors have graduated and gone on to a 2-year or 4-year college. So that story you got to hear from the parents talking about their child getting into all those colleges, that's not a unique experience to just him. We've been really lucky lately that our seniors have determined that college is the path that they want to take, and we help them through that path. There are also weekly social emotional classes for grades 6 through 8. They get 2 of those classes a week. All of the other grades are still getting social emotional learning. Example, our lower school, Miss Bynum, our K through 7 counselor, she is doing a lot of social emotional learning in the moment. She's going out on break with them. She's going to recess, and she is observing and coaching in the moment when she sees something happen that students need support with. She's also pushing into homeroom. She is doing things like lunch bunch, where she invites a certain number of students to eat lunch in her office with them. They think it's just a really fun, special privilege that they get, but she's going to use that time to talk to them, to do some of that social skills coaching. Our upper school students also have that with Miss Bailey, our 8 through 12. However, instead of pulling them into lunch, because as they get older, they think it's less cool to eat lunch with a teacher, she does a breakfast club. And so they get to come in, get some free breakfast, and do a lot of the same things, do that coaching, that social support while they are getting some free food. We also do something called EMP, because you're not a school if you don't have a million acronyms. So we add to that. We have our educational management plans. This is where you get to meet with your child's entire team twice a year. The younger students don't usually participate in those meetings. As they get older into middle and high school, the student is there participating as well. And so these are going to be the more formal moments to really check in on the progress your student is making. With that being said, there are so many informal times throughout the year where you can be in contact with the teacher or with the director and getting updates and things like that about your student. Other lower school supports, I did mention lunch bunch is one of the things Miss Bynum does. We have Teddy the therapy dog. He comes on Thursdays, and students get to rotate being able to take time to read with Teddy the therapy dog. Just a lot of different programs that we try to pull in each year to engage our students. So it's something that they hopefully want to do while we are still giving them supports and lessons and things like that through that activity. So our lower school, Mr. Brisbane is our director of lower and middle school. The kind of key points of lower school, I mentioned that small group instruction. All of our lower school teachers are really big on multisensory approaches. For example, we were able to get a learning kitchen with a grant because you would walk down the lower school hallway on any given day and they were cooking and baking and doing something hands-on, but it was with like hot plates in the classroom. And so we were like, hey, this is a really cool multisensory thing that we want to support, but let's try to find a safer and more conducive environment. And so we were able to create our learning kitchen, where now any teacher K through 12 can book that space, bring their class in, and do different activities. So math was in there a couple weeks ago, learning and reviewing fractions by baking brownies, just cool hands-on things that they can do. We do utilize Orton Gillingham for reading remediation. So if a student really needs a focus on getting those letters off the page, getting those sounds, just really that reading focus, they will be receiving that Orton Gillingham, and it's not a pull-out support that they're only getting, say, an hour each day. That Orton Gillingham structure is embedded in their reading writing class every single day if that's what they need. Speaking of that Orton Gillingham and kind of the needs, we have students that come to us for lots of different needs. Some are coming to us more for the social skills support. Some are coming to us more for closing academic gaps. Some need a little combo of both. Because of the variety of needs, we do group our lower school, so K through 5, on ability rather than grade level. So if and when you come to tour the school, you won't just step into a classroom of second graders or step into a classroom of fifth graders. You might see first, second, and third graders in the same room for reading. And then when it switches to math, they will be with a different group of, say, second, third, and fourth graders, because we are grouping students with similar needs. And that need can be one of remediation. So maybe they are grouped accordingly, so they are getting that OG remediation, but then for math, they might need a challenge. And so they'll be with a different teacher, different grouping for math, so that we're meeting them where they are for that area too. So that's done by content area. I mentioned the sensory gym, showed you that picture. It's a great resource where students can take a break. We are really big on teaching our students how to be self-advocates, how to understand what they need is step one, and then really destigmatizing ideas that have kind of been built up in the traditional school system of things like needing a break is a bad thing. We know it's not. Us as adults, I can't right now because I'm giving a presentation, but I can get up and get a cup of coffee or go to the restroom. I can take that mental break if I need it. So we want to make sure that we are teaching our students that it's okay to do that and how to appropriately do that. I mentioned that we have specials. We have art, music, PE around the world, and horticulture. And then this last year, we heard our parents call for some enrichment opportunities for our lower school. Right now, our student clubs and our athletics begin in 5th grade. But this year, we have started doing clubs for our lower school students on Friday afternoons. So it's a little bit more structured than the older students' opportunity for clubs, but they are still getting that exposure to high interest things like Legos and arts and crafts. And then there are 6-week long after school enrichments for our lower school students as well. And those change year to year. So something that you'll notice is as I kind of move through these divisions, a lot stays the same. Our students' bodies tend to get bigger, but their needs and the reason that they're here with us, they need similar supports. So, we have Orton Gillingham for our middle school group as well. They are also focusing on that multisensory approach, maybe just taking a little bit deeper dive into academics. Focusing on that executive functioning support, especially our middle schoolers. They get lockers for this first time in middle school. So they're going to do that weekly check-in where we're making sure there's not old lunch and 5 jackets and 6 water bottles from the week all crammed in that locker, helping them manage and keep up with that. They also rotate through specials, and then they get the introduction to student-created clubs starting in middle school. So I mentioned the athletics already. But the student created clubs is a really cool thing to witness, because if they are interested in a topic, they put together a proposal and a teacher says, yep, I'll host that, then it is a club and students can meet once a week. So right now we have an art club, a drama club, a music club, some video game club that I've never heard of the video game, but the students love it. So it's really personalized and you get to see the students' personality and interests really shine. So kindergarten is its own fun little program in a sense. Some years we have enough kindergarten students where it is just purely kindergartners in that grouping of say 3 to 5. Some years, depending on how many kindergartners we have enrolled, it may be a K1 grouping of about 3 to 5. Kindergarten is really going to focus on how to be a student. So while they are going to be doing academics like that Orton Gillingham reading instruction and science and social studies, they're also going to be doing things like, how do I get my body and mind ready to follow a schedule, to follow a group plan, for some for the first time, how to co-regulate with another adult if something happens that heightens emotions. Say it's 9 a.m. and they desperately want a hot dog, but it's not lunchtime yet. They have to be able to be trained on or taught. We can't have the hot dog right now. How can we regulate that emotion? You're feeling really upset by that. How can we co-regulate that and understand what the expectation is, while also validating that these are very real feelings for them? They're still getting a lot of the special rotations, art, music, PE, so making sure that they have that for our lower school students. All of those fun specials happen in the afternoon, especially for our students with the ADHD diagnosis. We know that they are often freshest and most prepared to focus on the harder topics in the morning. Sometimes meds wear off by the end of the day, things like that. So we try to keep the more movement, fun activities in the afternoon. It also helps just from a parent perspective. If they've got the million doctor's appointments and things like that, you can make them in the afternoon and they're not going to be always missing that OG instruction or something that they need to be there for. Moving into upper school, our upper school, they are taking all of the required courses that they need to earn their North Carolina diploma. So we are considered a CP, or college preparatory curriculum. With that being said, it is still very supported. So the way I kind of picture our divisions, if a student is with us for all three, is lower school, we are very flexible. We're grouping on ability, multi-aged, high intervention remediation. Middle school is that middle ground. It's that bridge where we are starting to have them track mainly with their grade, but we can be flexible in the grouping. We're getting a little bit more heavily into the academics and kind of what they need to get as a middle schooler, but it's still chunked. It's still very heavily supported by the teachers. Then upper school, we have the least flexibility out of all three divisions because they are taking those required classes. So there's 9th grade English that they have to take and 9th grade math that they have to take. But we are still very supportive. We are still the small class sizes, still giving them accommodations, chunking assignments, doing fill in the blank notes, all of those things so that they are able to feel success. I already mentioned that our upper school counselor does a lot of the college and career coaching for what comes next. This year, she has brought in a lot of companies in the Charlotte area who really support and want neurodiverse populations in their workforce and have programs to support that. So she is proposing that to students as well, so they can hear firsthand the options they have there. We do have a beta club. So just lots of really awesome things that our upper school students can take advantage of. So it's always at this point in the presentation where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of hearing my own voice. So I know I just kind of spewed a lot of words and a lot of facts at you about our school. I'm going to now transition more into the admissions criteria and process. But before I get into that, I do want to say that I try my best to make this admissions process, if you are interested in learning about us as a potential for your child, as personalized as possible. So please feel comfortable reaching out to me. There's a link to schedule a one-on-one tour on our website. This overview it's great. It's the basic facts, but it does not mean the same as me saying this to you when you're actually standing in the classroom and see the students and see the teacher. I feel like on a tour, you can really start to answer the question, can I picture my child here? Or do I see other students where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my Johnny that's sitting there. Like I can see that. So I do strongly suggest that you do a tour. This doesn't replace that at all. So for our admissions criteria, students have to have a diagnosis of a specific learning disability. So that can be in reading, math, written expression, and or ADHD. If they have at least one of these, then they can also have level 1 autism, or what's considered by some the high functioning autism. Now, with that being said, we do have one grade where we're a little bit flexible with that. Kindergarten in specifically, a lot of times at that young age, ADHD and a specific learning disability is not yet diagnosed. However, autism can be diagnosed and often is diagnosed at a very young age. So at the kindergarten level, we will accept students who only have the level 1 autism diagnosis, with just being transparent with the family that the expectation is that prior to continuing on into 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, there's another evaluation completed where we can determine if there's an ADHD or specific learning disability. I'll tell you right now, we are at about 45% of our K-12 population having the autism level 1 ADHD combination. So that is one that we often see really goes hand in hand. Another part of our admissions criteria is that IQ or cognitive level. So we are typically looking for about 80 or above. That being said, we are not a black and white school. Same with the autism level 1 diagnosis. If your report was done 2 years ago and it's saying, say, level 2, but now a lot has been done. They've gone through ABA, they've done all these different things. We recognize that that is a fluctuating and changing number. So if that is the case, I always tell families, send what you have. Let me look. Let me ask the questions that I know our team members will be asking, and then let's go from there. Maybe it is me recommending some more testing, or maybe it's me recommending that I connect with the student's therapist and get some more information. But don't let some of these confinements hold you back from reaching out. It might be that I say, hey, we're not the right fit right now, but I can recommend schools based on my knowledge that I think would be good right now. And then you can always circle back around. So it's never a no from us. It's always a, hey, maybe not right now, but here's what I think would work, what you could be doing, and when I think you should circle back around. We do ask that you have, I've mentioned a couple times, the testing or the evaluation, a psychological educational evaluation that is less than 3 years old. Fully aware how challenging it can be to get in with a private psychologist, whether it's with waitlist or with cost. So sometimes if the student has an IEP and has gone through the school psychologist evaluation, that is enough for us to be able to move forward. Again, it's kind of a shot in the dark. Sometimes it has what we need, sometimes it doesn't. I tell parents all the time, there is no such thing as sending me too much information. Send with me what you have and let me be the one to sort through it, dig through it, and see if it has what we need. I don't want you, you already have enough on your plate. You don't need to worry about digging through that and understanding the convoluted language that is sometimes in an IEP or in other documents. So with the admissions process, I've mentioned a couple times just starting that conversation with me. That's always step one. Let me take a look, make sure your child meets our criteria. We as a school strongly believe in transparency. And I don't want to go through the whole process and then at the end be like, oh, just kidding. Your child doesn't have the diagnosis we need. We're not going to do that. We want to talk from the very beginning about criteria. I've mentioned already scheduling that tour. Once you schedule that tour and kind of both parties are like, yeah, we think we want to move forward in exploring us as an option, I get you set up in the parent portal where you complete the application and you get 2 recommendations. Now, the 3 years I've been here, I am still on the hunt for a better word than recommendation. I don't know if you're like me, but when I hear that word, I think of like a college recommendation where you are just taking a shot in the dark and asking someone to write you a letter. You have no idea what open-ended letter they're going to write, and then it sends off. That is not what we are doing here with 2 recommendations. One, it's a very structured form. It's all through our online portal. It's about 6 or 7 open-ended questions. We fully recognize that families and students are coming to us because the family either knows that the public school system or whatever other option isn't going to be the best option for their child, or the family, the child have already experienced something that's not working. So we are not expecting to get this teacher recommendation of the student is perfect and everything's amazing, because there are struggles. That's why you're looking for another option. These questions are more going to be things like, how does the student respond to redirection? How does the student, please describe the student's level of independence. So it's not something that we are looking to use punitively. It is more giving us information outside of family members who love the child as you should. Once we get through all of that, we do the most valuable part of the process, and that is the 2 to 3 day student visit. So this is an immersive experience where the student gets to attend our school and run through the school day as if they're enrolled. So say you're applying for kindergarten, the student's going to come and experience the day of a kindergartner. We want it to be as immersive as possible. You know, they're not just sitting in the corner watching the day happen. If the class is doing a worksheet, they're going to be given the worksheet too. If the class is going outside for a game of kickball, they're going to be invited to play as well. To us, this allows us to, at the end of that, make sure if we're saying yes, we are offering a spot, that we are very confident that we have all of the resources we need to set that child up for success. It also allows you as a family to get your own trial run. You know your child better than anybody. You know when you pick them up, even if they aren't, you know, pouring out of information about how their day was, you know what their emotions are like, what their face is like. Do they go home and have a smooth evening, or is it an evening of meltdowns? You know, that's going to show you a lot about how they felt about the day. It's also going to allow you as a family to test things out, like, can we do the drive? Do we have other kids to drop off at school? Just all of those things that go into making this decision, because it's not always as simple as, yes, I think my child should go there, and yes, we've been accepted, so yes, we are going. So that trial run is really the most significant part of the process. We are now enrolling for the upcoming school year. Because of that student visit and that being so important, now till about middle April is really the sweet spot for getting that student visit in, because we want these student visit days to feel as true to the typical school day as possible. And you all probably know that once we get into May and it creeps closer to the end of the school year, school days tend to be anything but typical. So that's really that sweet spot for that visit. We can honestly move as quickly or as slowly through the admissions process as we need to, though. We have quite a bit of flexibility. That's kind of, you can probably notice I've said that a lot throughout this presentation. Our motto is flexibility in a sense, because that's what we have to do. We don't have a set admissions deadline. We can do the student visits through our summer camps if need be. We just prefer that it's done through the school year because the summer camps are fun and high interest. It's not going to be in the classroom really getting to experience the day. We do have tuition assistance. So we do accept the North Carolina grants, if you are familiar with them, the ESA Plus grant and the Opportunity Scholarship. Right now, we are in that application window for both of those. So that application opened on February 6th, and it is going to close on March 6th. So if you haven't applied, I highly recommend that you do if you currently live in North Carolina. If you currently do not live in North Carolina, because we do have a lot of families who come to us from South Carolina, unfortunately, you're not eligible for those North Carolina scholarships, but we do have our own financial aid application as a school that you can apply for and go through that process. And all of this is on our website, including that financial aid link for the school. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the recording and open up the Q&A, but thank you so much for listening to my voice for so long. Every time I do one of these presentations, I kind of get PTSD flashbacks from teaching during COVID, where I feel like I'm just talking to myself the whole time. So thank you for bearing with me for that. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.